Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 26 of the XPackPod podcast, where we download this week's content and bring it to you. I'm your host, Denzel, aka Black Ice, joined by my amazing co-host, as always, starting off with Manny, aka Goopmaster Flex.
Here no stay gooping.
You stay gooping. You know it. He has to say it. All right. And then moving over to Chris, aka May 25th. How you doing, brother?
Doing good. You already know. Stay May 25th-ian. Yeah, no?
No.
Stay May 25th-ian?
Well,
Damn.
We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
Damn.
I mean, if only this was the 25th episode, it would have
got
been.
on like May 25th.
I don't know, man. You might have to step the name game up, bro. I don't know, man. You could do better. I got faith in you. You know, might have to, take it back to, Actually, no. I'm not gonna do that to you. Anyways,
I know exactly
back,
what you're gonna say too, man. You're an asshole.
Oh man! All right, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Get sidetracked already. We got an awesome episode for you today, talking about a bunch of cool things that happened this week. So yeah, let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. So start off with what we've been playing this week. So Chris, I'll let you start off. Well, what have you been doing? What have you been playing this week, man?
This week, I've been a valiant participant in the Guardian games.
Ooh, no,
I've been killing that. That's a lie. I've been a little bit of Destiny, but honestly, I've been kind of playing a lot of Outriders, yo. Like, yeah, I'm on max level 30. My build is pretty damn nice right now, and I am on the final boss, and I cannot beat him. So, yo, I need help, people. Hit me up. Because I cannot beat, what's his name? Yagak, whatever his name is. This man's. That's a boss fight right there. That's all I can say. It's a boss fight. I can't do it. But, I'm going to get there eventually. But other than that, yeah, I think that's kind of been about it. A lot of Outriders. Damn. It's funny, I look back and I didn't realize just how much I played Outriders, but I played a good amount this week. It's crazy.
Nice.
Yeah. Well,
Nice. All right. Manny, what have you been playing, bro?
It's been a little light. Played a little bit of the new Warzone Season 3. It's a little disappointed with the event, but it's Warzone, whatever. We're still gonna play the game. It's Call of Duty. You know what I'm saying? It's just you gotta play the game. And then a little bit of MOB, and I'll say that's pretty much it. It's been light this week, so yeah.
Word. Okay. Well, for myself, I've been playing a lot of MLB. I preface by saying I don't particularly care for baseball, but I haven't played a baseball game in so long. I am actually having a lot of fun with it. I suck at batting. Absolutely suck. And I think that's probably why I've been playing more of it, because I really just want to get better at it. I'm, getting a little better here and there, but I'm really good at pitching. So yeah, loving the show so far. I've been playing Outriders, pretty decent amount of that with Chris. And I started up Ghost of Tsushima. Very interesting game. I literally just started it up. Like I think I got through like the little prologue, and I haven't really gotten a chance to dive back into it. But I realized that game makes me want like a martial arts game, like in a similar style. Like the fighting, I really enjoy the fighting with the sword and whatnot, but like I want an open world like martial arts game, like Sleeping Dogs, or True Crime didn't really do that, but Sleeping Dogs. Sleeping Dogs is probably the closest thing I can think of where you could actually like fight hand to hand. I don't know. Either way, somebody go make that. And then yesterday I was playing It Takes Two. And for those of you who don't know, that's a new co-op game by Hazelight. I've been playing that with my wife. That's actually a lot of fun. Yeah, I think that's really it, though. Nothing else really right now.
Nice.
Yeah. Not a well, I guess I wouldn't say it's a light week, but I definitely haven't been playing my usual games. Like I didn't really touch Destiny at all because Guardian Games is trash. Very upset with them. I don't think I'm going to be. I don't think I'm gonna be playing Destiny until the new season comes out. To be honest with you.
Yeah, it's kind of looking like that for me too, a little bit. Like Crucible wise, yeah, but that's about it. Yeah.
I don't even know if I'm gonna be touching Crucible. I mean, we'll see. We got a couple weeks left, but I don't even know if I'll be touching Crucible. But actually, yeah, we're probably gonna play tonight. But either way, yeah. Well, let's move on. So, what do we got next? Oh, Chris, take it away, man.
And the icebreaker. Oh man, see, this is where we really need some transitions. We should have had a Sub-Zero just come in, and then how cool would that have been, right? That would have been awesome.
We'll get the editing team right on it.
We ain't got that. We ain't got that though. So. This week's icebreaker, y'all. I need y'all to dig deep into y'all gaming memories and find the memory of when you raged, or at least the last one that you can recall, where you had a moment in a game where it literally made you rage hard as hell. And like, I'm not talking about just oh man, how'd this guy kill me? Because you know how all gamers say that. How did I die? All that crap. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you are hot and you gotta literally take a step away for a second because they just pushed the button too far. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm talking about. What's that moment for y'all? At least the most recent.
Okay.
All right.
Danny, you want to start it off?
I guess I'll start it off. And I know you're talking about, the basic stuff, like, how we talk, like, Warzone is going to be like, oh, basic answer because everybody play that. But what my moment was like, so we're like in the top 10, not even, probably top 5 in squads. And like, what ended up happening was like, my game ended up crashing on my PC. And bro, you don't understand how mad I was. I probably banged my desk so hard, and it was like the middle of the night too, like kind of thing. And it was just like I was like, all right, guys, I'm getting off. Turn off my PC. Just went to bed. I was going. I was done with it. Because like Warzone, every time I play, I feel like I always get a headache from it because the game always gets me so mad for no reason. Like it's always just some exploit that just like happens, and you're just like, why do I even play this game still? Like, you know what I mean? But like when that happened, I was just like, I don't think I played Warzone for a week straight after that. Yeah.
Okay.
Jesus.
It's funny. Kind of like changed. I'm not gonna take because it's basically the same thing that happened to me. But now that I'm thinking about it, like it filled me with so much rage when I was playing Warzone. I was the last person alive, and like I was trying to. I think I was maybe like $100 away from having enough money to get back one of my teammates. And the game crashed, and like I had the dev error, that dreaded dev error that was happening for a little bit last season. Oh my god, I was so pissed. But that's not gonna be my pick. My pick, and it's not even like a specific situation like that just was, but anytime we were playing 2K Rec Center, oh my god, people just make me want to like strangle them, dude. Like you got those randos on your team that don't pass the ball, they chuck up every shot when there's a hand right up in their face. Man, I'd be wanting to find those people and just walk up to them, just give them a swift uppercut, knock them out, and walk away, man. It's so freaking annoying. Especially like this last 2K, I was a point guard. So like, I should be the one bringing up the ball most of the time. More often than not, like you'd have those people who were feeling a certain type of way, whether it was like the center or power forward or whatever, and like they would call for the ball from each other and like bring the ball up as a center and then get the ball stolen constantly, or like just chuck up stupid shots all the time and then we'd be losing. It's just so frustrating because it would always cause us to lose when they could have just played their role, given me the ball, waited for the ball to come to them like most people do online. But yeah, they caused us to lose, and those times just make me want to like, man. Back then, I don't think we could ever really play 2K Rec Center without a full squad for more than like 2 games because everybody would just get mad and get off. So yeah, that's definitely got to be mine.
Definitely relatable.
For my answer is gonna be funny, man. So I have a 1.5 answer. My point five probably would be when I finally got my first Game Boy, and I had it for a week before my little brother broke it, and then I don't know, I just saw black for a second, and I literally open hand smack this boy. Cause so like, just for context, y'all, I'm about 7 years older than my little brother, and he probably doesn't even remember this. But he asked me to play my Game Boy. I said no, and he smashed the screen completely. And then I slapped him very hard, very hard, to the point where like I remember my parents came out the room and they were like, "What happened?" And I was like, "He broke my Game Boy." And usually they'd be on some, punishment shit, but then they seen it and they was like, "Turn back around and close the door." I was like, "Justice, kind of," but I have no Game Boy. I have no Game Boy. So that sucked. But I would say like in terms of like an actual in-game thing that made me rage, I'm taking it back over a decade right now. Kingdom Hearts 1.
Okay.
Ursula, to this day, might be my most painful boss fight experience I've ever had in my entire life. I don't think there's been a boss fight that I've done in any of my gaming career where I've gotten so close to killing her so many times, maybe that much left, and she gets me. Every single bro, it took me at least 35 to 40 tries to kill Ursula. I would fucking try, and she would just get me, and I would just have to like literally turn the console off and walk away because like I would probably give myself like friggin' stroke at age 13 trying to beat this shit, bro. Oh my god. And I'm sitting there like, fam, this ain't nothing crazy. This ain't no God of War monster or anything like that. This is fucking Ursula from Little Mermaid, and you cannot beat her. Wow, what does that say about you, bro? What does that say about you, bro? It took me so long to do it, but I will say when I finally did do it, there was this moment of it was like a war cry almost. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you did it. So you do it. That's right. Ain't no Little Mermaid up in here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You go crazy. And yeah, that's gotta be mine. Cause like I don't really rage too much in video games. Like I'll get really annoyed, but I'm not the dude that's gonna smash my controller to pieces because I got mad and like that's not me. I spend too much money on this shit.
Yeah, that's me.
That is not me.
I got into a point with my Elite controller where it's like every time I shake it, you hear like a noise. Like, let me see if I can grab it.
Yo, what?
Wait.
Damn, dog. Whoa.
Yo,
bro.
you doing that with Elite controllers? You're wild.
That's why, I'm in keyboard and mouse mode right now.
You should have got a warranty on that shit.
Well, this had to happen recently, but like, I mean, it's got to a point where I was like, I forgot what game I was playing. And like this was recent, and my right bumper doesn't work. So like, we know games like Gears of War or like MLB where it's like, in order to like steal bases or go back, whatever, you need the right bumper. Bro, when my right bumper didn't work and like that can like mess me up somehow, bro, I was slamming my controller so hard. It was like that flight meme where he's slamming the controller. I was like that.
Yo.
Yeah.
Dog, you are out here. See, I just couldn't. I'd be so mad at myself later, though.
Yup.
I'm so mad at myself.
I'll be like, damn, is this okay?
The controller
like,
works perfectly fine, but the right
that?
bumper thing's been a problem for like 3 months, so like, or 4 months right now, actually.
Oh man, yeah, you a different breed, Manny. You a different breed.
But yeah, okay.
Hey man, I have like 3 different Xbox controllers chilling.
How many controllers would you say you've gone through in the course of your like gaming career?
Well, I'm gonna say the whole Xbox cycle. You know what I'm saying? I probably went through 2 Xbox 360 controllers, maybe 1 Xbox One controller, 2 Xbox Elite Ones, 1 Xbox Elite 2.
Damn.
Well, actually,
okay.
no, I still have the Xbox Elite 2. I didn't go through this one yet. But what do you mean?
All right.
I mean,
You need an intervention.
You
bro,
can't
I
be
used to
playing
have
with
so much
controller.
drift in the Xbox 360 controller, bro. Like I would have to run like in order for me to walk straight, I would have to like angle my controller. Like you know what I mean? I was struggling back then, but I was still good at gaming, so it don't matter to me.
You gotta learn to open them up and fix them. That was my thing. I had to learn that because I couldn't be out here with drifting controls like that. That drive me
It's
crazy.
terrible, man. But it is what it is. You get used to it.
All right, all right. Well, good icebreaker for this week. Let's dive into the topics, man. Let's dive into the topics for this week. So we'll start off with everybody's favorite game. No, definitely a game that's been getting a lot of obviously
Animal Crossing? No.
negative attention since it's been released, and that's Cyberpunk. Interestingly enough, though, CD Projekt Red, they had a somewhat of a, I guess, an investor call, or I guess a press release, really more than anything, this past week, where they kind of talked about CD Projekt Red's history and where they plan to be moving forward. And then within that, they announced that Cyberpunk 2077 actually sold exactly 13.7 million copies in 2020, which is pretty impressive, actually.
Mhm.
And that last part there, in 2020, the game is, we were talking about this in the pre-show a little bit, but the game's only been out for 3 weeks within 2020. So for them to actually have sold 13.7 million, we'll just say 14 million just for the sake of rounding up here. It's really interesting, and it's pretty impressive, right? Let's see here. When did the game actually come out again?
December 10th.
Actually,
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's about 3
that's
weeks.
crazy.
Yeah, about 3 weeks. Yeah. Damn.
So
Okay. Well, boys, I mean, let's talk about it. What do you guys think about that? That's interesting.
I
We've
wonder.
all talked pretty extensively about CD Projekt Red, but Manny, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, well, what are the numbers for returns copies, or what I'm saying, like, because I'm sure there's a whole fiasco of that where they had to return a lot of games, and I don't think they mentioned that in the whole article, but
They didn't, and I don't want to like say this on the record per se, but I remember seeing somewhere that they had talked about it as well, that they had only had like I want to say like roughly 30,000 returns.
oh, that's not bad.
Which
That's
which
not
kind of,
bad.
I mean, yeah, that doesn't surprise me, right? Like I would have been surprised if over 1 million people had returned the game,
Mhm.
because in my opinion, I don't know, I just feel like that would be shocking. Most people don't really go out of their way to return a game like that. And I think a large portion of people actually were pretty satisfied with the game overall. I think it was just the bugs that kind of put a damper on things, but I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I think it's really interesting for sure.
Then yeah, that is pretty impressive, for selling that much copies, only having, like like you said, this is not final numbers, but like around 30,000, we'll say. But like, yeah, I mean, like you said, it was just like the game came out December 10th, the last 3 weeks of December, basically, and that already sold more than like probably games like Spider-Man, Miles Morales, or The Last of Us 2. I don't know their numbers exactly, but like, what I say, like,
Yeah, games that were out longer in the year though, right?
like those
it's
games, like it's funny how we talking about like last week's episode, how like Days Gone could even reach 8 million copies for PlayStation to be like, let's do a sequel, like, you know what I mean? But like this game just took 3 weeks, and I think even it said like the day before, like 8 million pre-orders, like had happened the day before the game launched, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah,
That's
man.
wild. I mean, but yeah, we know the hype that was surrounding that game. People were really looking for it to be like the second coming of God at this point, right? Like there was just so much hype drummed up around the game. But I do know that there was a decent amount of people who decided that they weren't going to buy that game until after they were able to secure a next gen system, and we know the scarcity of those around that time. I think one thing I'm curious about, right, is now it's as of time of this recording, it's April 25th, 2021, right? So there was a good 4 months in 2021 that already happened. I wonder what that number looks like right now, right? So you did 14 million at launch, basically. Like, a whole 4 months passes by. There's definitely been some improvements to the game, some things that they've broken again, but the game's clearly not in the same state that it launched in. And granted, it's not back up on the PlayStation Store just yet, but I wonder what those numbers look like now, right? You can still get it on Xbox, you can still get it on PC. I wonder why they chose to announce that it sold those numbers in 2020 now, as opposed to, I mean, I guess it probably would have been in poor taste to talk about sales numbers back when all the backlash was happening, but it's just interesting to me, man. I don't know. But Chris, what's your take on this, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting and impressive, no matter how you really want to flip it. Yeah, it is something that I'm worried about in terms of like how much money they had to give back with all the refunds and whatnot. But still, though, 13 million in what 3 weeks is insane.
Mm-hmm.
That just to me says that the marketing team was A1, right? Because like I feel like when it comes to video games, one of the easiest games to sell folks and get people hyped about is these open world sandbox games. Because to me, I would say a grand majority of folks really enjoy these games. Not everybody likes Grand Theft Auto, but there's no way somebody's going to convince me that 80% of people who play video games don't like these games. Because I would argue that till my face is blue. It's a best-selling game for a reason. Feel me? So it's like I feel like Grand Theft Auto, and even when Saints Row came out, and a lot of these other games, Red Dead, all these types of sandbox games, they work. And then you think about how much they put into Cyberpunk, yeah, like it makes perfect sense that they sold as much as they did, considering just how much marketing went into that. Because then if you think about it, Days Gone didn't even get us a hundredth of that marketing. You know what I mean? Like they didn't get any of that. And there's no way people can tell me that they didn't even at least know Cyberpunk was coming out before it came out. Whereas I don't know shit about when Days Gone came out, despite the fact that I've read that it's a good game. It wasn't in my face like that. So, yeah, that's a really, really, really impressive number, I would say. And me hearing that number makes me think, okay, well, y'all definitely recoup some kind of profit somewhere on the marketing that y'all put into the game.
Absolutely.
I'm just hoping y'all put some of this shit back into whatever is planned for later on in the year, because that's still what I'm more concerned about more than anything else. It's nice to see these numbers, but let's not forget that y'all got some work to still do too. So let's see what happens with that still. But yeah, overall, it's definitely impressive for sure. I don't know any other game that I could think of that's done anything even close to this. This is 13 million in 3 weeks is stupid.
Yeah, for brand new IP too. Yeah.
That is like, what do you sell? Like, I'm trying to think, like 4 million a week since it's released in December.
Possibly.
Around that. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I really want to see what that number looks like right now, right? Like I would have to guess if you sold roughly 14 million by the end of 2020, I would assume that you would at least maybe hit 22 mil, maybe by now.
Yeah.
20 mil, something like that.
See, and the thing that sucks though is that like I have to also assume that a majority of the 13 million were folks who had it on older gen consoles and shit like that. And like, even though they count for a lot of these numbers right now, I don't think it's smart for CD Projekt Red to keep supporting the older gen consoles with any kind of anything. So like, at the end of the day, does the number even really mean all that much? I don't know.
I mean, the number means a lot because
it does, but like,
it does because that's money in their pocket.
Like be able to benefit from anything, then it kind of sucks at the same time. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think. I think that number would also speak to the fact that CD Projekt Red probably isn't going to not support them, right? Like, I don't think that they're going to abandon current gen, right? They may have some tricks up their sleeves to focus more on next gen, and I mean, this is something that I'll just bring it up right now, right? So there's a little blurb at the end of the press release here that mentions, in addition to further updates to Cyberpunk and free DLC in the second half of the year, we plan to release dedicated next-gen console editions of both Cyberpunk and The Witcher 3. In addition, we're approaching the release of The Witcher Monster Slayer, a location-based augmented reality mobile game. And of course, we'll continue to work on other projects which will bear fruit in later years. So, the first part of that, that paragraph, I guess, speaks to the fact that they're still focusing on updating the current version of the game, which would then benefit current gen users. And then they're going to be releasing a next gen version of the game. So I think as much as everybody wants them to kind of leave the older version of the game in the dust, I don't think that they will. I don't think that they can. I think they have to get it at least to a stable point and then really start focusing more on the next gen stuff. And I'm sure, I mean, CD Projekt Red isn't a small studio, right? They're pretty big, they're pretty successful, and they have multiple teams working on different things, at the same time. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a current gen team, a next gen team, and there are other teams working on whatever the next Cyberpunk game or the next Witcher game is, because it seems like those are going to be the two pillars, based on their press release here as well. Like the Witcher and Cyberpunk will be their two major franchises going forward for CD Projekt Red. So, yeah, I don't see them abandoning current gen as much as I think we kind of want them to.
I agree. Like they put themselves in the situation, like, and it would just make them look worse as a company if they just like abandon it and be like, oh well, tough luck, you got this, deal with it. I mean,
I don't see any big new features coming to last gen. Let's branch off and stop calling it next gen and like last. We're currently in like Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 is now, so it's current gen, and we'll talk about last gen as the PlayStation 4 and so on. I think that you won't see any new features coming to last gen, but I do think you'll just see them continue to push out bug fixes and get it up to snuff, and then they'll still push out DLC as well. But I think like any new features or any new graphical enhancements or any of that type of stuff, that'll just be saved for next gen only. And I'm okay with that. I think that's fair. You don't want to abandon. Let's say at least half of the people in that 14 million were last gen users. You don't want to abandon those people. It's just bad business practice too, right? Because then you're going to piss people off. People aren't going to buy your next Cyberpunk. People aren't going to buy the next Witcher. So you have to kind of satisfy that at some level. It's kind of tricky, and it's a position that they put themselves in, and it sucks, but like they can't abandon it. At this point, they'll just have to focus on the next game to be the thing that really like they pull all their resources into solely. So
definitely.
yeah, I know, but we'll see. I mean, I'm excited about this news, right?
Yeah,
they
Witcher
slipped
news
in
is
here.
crazy.
Yeah, exactly. They slipped in here that we're gonna get a new Witcher 3. Well, next gen port of Witcher 3. I mean, who knows what that might look like? Maybe we'll start seeing some ray tracing stuff going on, being able to take advantage of some of the features of the Xbox and the new PlayStation. So definitely something to look forward to.
I'm looking forward to that for sure, because I feel like The Witcher, especially, not that the graphics are bad, but like how some of the other games from like a couple years ago, like they're starting to look older. You know what I'm saying? I think I could definitely use this this update for sure. I think so. I'm excited.
Yeah. I agree. Like I remember playing Battlefield 4 when Xbox first came out. It's like, yo, this game looked amazing, the best out there. Same thing with 2K14. But now if you go back to those games, you're like, oh, I really thought this was great.
Yeah, rough.
Yeah, man.
Yo, speaking of Battlefield, did you see that they actually a number of EA games got the new FPS boost? So Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1, and Battlefield 5 are all going to be boosted up to 120 frames. It's like pretty wild.
And Battlefront too. You can't forget about Star Wars.
Star Wars Battle. Yeah, there's a number of them. Star Wars Battlefront, Mirror's Edge,
Titanfall 2,
Titanfall 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So like, the fact that like Microsoft is still going back and putting like little touches on those games is definitely really cool. Speaking of Xbox, this week we finally got the xCloud game streaming service coming to iOS and PC. It's not officially out. It's really in a beta form. It's right now. It's only invite only. It's a very limited beta. So this actually came from the head of xCloud, I should say. The limited beta is our time to test and learn. We'll send out more invites on a continuous basis to players in all 22 supported countries. Evaluate feedback, continue to improve the experience, and add support for more devices. That part seems kind of weird to me because, from my understanding, well, actually, for what it is just a browser. Like it's if you're invited to the beta, all you have to do is go to xbox.com/play, and you can just play. I mean, that's really it. You can plug in a controller into your laptop if you're playing on a PC, or you can use a Bluetooth controller on your iPad or your iPhone, and just start playing games. I personally have been really looking forward to this because I have an iPad and I feel like playing on an iPad is kind of the ideal situation to me for cloud streaming. So I haven't gotten a beta invite just yet. I'm hoping to get one soon, but I really want to test this out. I feel like this has been kind of the missing link for Microsoft. There's clearly some other things that they plan on doing down the road with the game streaming stuff, but I feel like, it's been on Android for a while, and obviously there's a ton of Android devices out in the world. But we know, as far as the mind share in the US goes, there's a lot of iPhone users. A lot of people care about iPhones in the US in particular. So having, our iPhone brothers and sisters getting a chance to, really dive in with the game streaming stuff is going to be a big deal. And I think it'll go even further to push Microsoft to be able to get more people into the ecosystem. So I'm super excited about that. But, I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. So, Chris, what do you think about this?
No, I think it's pretty cool, man. It's exciting that it's happening now, though, because like when I hear about this stuff in the past, like I kind of thought it was like a ways off, because it's such a big move to me. That if this was something that didn't happen until even 2025, I would not be surprised. But the fact that it's happening 2021, and granted, it's in very early stages, in beta stages, but even then, if it's in a beta stage, that means that this should maybe be good to go for most folks by next year at the earliest, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's crazy, man. Like, it's not even that these dudes are making moves. It's like, it's also the speed in which they're making some of this stuff happen that's kind of like impressive. Like these Game Pass deals, everything else they're working on, and then you look at this, and it's like, damn, man, these dudes are moving over there. They are moving. Yeah, no, I'm excited to see how this works. Granted, I have a tablet and it doesn't really work that well for stuff like gaming and all that. Like, you can use it, but it ain't ideal for that kind of stuff. But just the fact that I have that as an option, the fact that I could go traveling or something like that, and I'm not gonna hold you. If this works out, it's gonna replace my Switch. It's gonna. I know it is, because just last week I was thinking about selling it. I was in GameStop and I heard this lady behind me, and she's been having a hard time finding one of them, boy. Because it's still hard to get a Switch right now. Like, I ain't gonna say it's as hard to get one as the new stuff, but like, yeah, she wanted one for her kid and she could not find one, and she was calling her on all the GameStops. The lady on the phone behind the register was trying to help her get it. I really thought about it. But with that being said, I think, again, this kind of thing is what pushes me more in that direction. I tell you, man, if they didn't have Pokemon, they would not still have me in any kind of way or form. And yeah, no, I'm very, very excited to see how this works. I think another thing I'm excited about too is just to see how the graphics actually translate in this kind of way. Because obviously I'm not expecting them to be as good as they would be, with your actual console and sitting in front of a monitor and all that stuff. But I really am curious to see how that's gonna play out too, because if some games end up looking too muddy or something like that just because of what's going on, that could be a turnoff for me in some cases, but we won't know until we know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see.
We know because it's on Android. So, it's already been out there on Android. Don't you have an Android tablet though? You could probably test it out there.
Oh, I do.
Yeah. All you got to do is just download the app. I think, from my experience, I think the expectation is like an Xbox One X. Like it's. I think they're putting in the blades for it to be. Yeah, exactly. It's pretty good. It definitely won't be like Series X quality, but One X, pretty good. It won't be 4K because obviously, like they're not exactly there yet, but I think they're getting to the point where they can probably. I'm really curious to see what it'll look like on a PC though, right? Like, using it on your smaller phone is one thing. Using it on a tablet's another thing. But like me, I have 2 32-inch monitors. Like, I'm curious to see like what the fidelity of that looks like when I'm just streaming on my PC here. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to playing around with that. Hopefully I get the beta soonish. But yeah, Manny, what about you, man? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually playing xCloud yesterday, actually, when I was at my like family's house. Just like, pop it up, and next thing I'm playing Streets of Rage 4 on my phone, and I don't even need a controller because it's like it has the feature where it's a touchscreen, and like it honestly ran pretty well for like the service I was getting over there. I was running like the service was 4G LTE on like 3 to 4 bars at times, and like the game was still running pretty well. Like I was surprised, and I know we were talking about it, how like We think, oh, you need like 5G, like 5G, 5 bars or whatever, all the bars you can get. But like, for something that ran at 4G, 4 bars, like it ran pretty well. I was even playing Gears of War with the touchscreen thing because I didn't bring a controller because I was even thinking about it. But like, so like, I think it's still pretty impressive with the streaming side on like how the game could look pretty good. Would look like, it had a little bit of drops of frames and stuff like that, but that's because like probably the service there. But I mean, it wasn't anything where it turned me off from wanting to play it. So, now that Apple users gets the chance, obviously it's a beta mode right now, and eventually it'll be open for everybody. And like same thing with PCs, like like Chris, for example, like I know your laptop ain't like what the best for gaming, but like the fact that you could probably stream it now and like stream these games that probably would be like more taking on like the hardware, like the GPU and stuff like that, where you don't have to worry about that anymore because you're streaming it. Like it's like a benefit that we didn't have before, where it's like before if you had a PC you need like this RTX 2070 or 1660 just to even run some of these games, and now you just need a solid connection and controller.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I mean, the fact that this makes gaming more accessible for anybody and everybody is obviously a great thing. I think the fact that it's on a browser is just really underrated, right? Like, even though you can download the app on your Android phone, right? Like you could still just go to a browser and just play. Like it's just, it's in theory should be so seamless. It just opens up the possibilities for so many different things. I mean, even I'd actually be curious to try this, but there's a web browser on PlayStation. I wonder if you could, in theory, like try the game streaming there. Like, how freaking crazy would that be? You're just sitting there playing with your PS5 controller. Like, that's even wilder. Oh man, damn. Yeah. Possibilities are kind of endless there. That's wow. Huh. Okay. Let me stop because that's wild. But yeah, man, Microsoft, as we've been talking about, the Xbox division, they've been killing it with this type of stuff. We know that the next step will probably be to put it into smart TVs and whatnot. I'm sure there's probably other things that they're thinking about that we can't even fathom right now. But to me, at least, the next logical step out after doing the stuff on iOS and the PC is to put it on our smart TVs, LG TVs, Samsung TVs, whatever. Start getting it out there for more and more people to be able to play. And, that's obviously going to be a good thing for everybody. But Microsoft also had some other news this week because, again, they just don't stop right now. They're not stopping. They're freaking swinging. They're not pulling punches. They don't care right now. But they did have a developer conference in a way. It's called GameStack Live that they streamed this week. And they were working with AMD to announce a couple new features here. So we'll just kind of get into it here. So this article referencing is from Windows Central. So Microsoft's Xbox Series X and Series S just gained support for several new graphics features. AMD announced that select FidelityFX features are now available in the latest Xbox Series X and S game development kits. With support for FidelityFX effects, game developers can add contrast, adaptive sharpening, variable shading, and AMD's ray traced shadow denoiser to games on the console. So we're not really like a big technical podcast here, but for those who don't know, basically those features will help to make games, help developers make games a little bit faster and more seamless, and kind of help with the ray tracing. So like the big thing with FidelityFX and the denoiser thing that they were talking about was ray tracing is still kind of in its infancy right now. Like there's still a couple games here and there on Xbox and PlayStation 5 that have ray tracing, but you'll notice that sometimes when you turn the ray tracing on, it's evident from when I was playing the Resident Evil demo on PlayStation 5 and when I was playing Spider-Man Miles Morales. When you turn on the ray tracing, there's just a little bit of like fuzziness to the image when you're looking at it. So, for example, if anybody's played Miles Morales, if you turn on ray tracing and then you go like jump on one of the buildings, so the ray tracing reflections so that you can see like what's happening behind you, like the ray tracing looks nice and all, but you can tell there's just like a little bit of fuzz with that. So what AMD did is develop some tech that basically can smooth that out and help it look a little bit better. So for those of you who play on PC, you may be familiar with this with NVIDIA cards. I forgot what the term exactly is called. Oh man, I think it's called DLSS. But basically, it serves the same purpose. So it'll kind of smooth out some surfaces and make it look better. So if let's say you're using ray tracing and the ray tracing looks like it's in 1080p or something, that FidelityFX or something like DLSS will make it look more like it's in 4K. It'll just sharpen up the image. It'll make it look a lot better. And this is something that we've kind of been waiting for a little while now, right? Like AMD has talked about it before. I think when they initially announced the system, they called it something called super resolution, and basically like I said, it just makes everything look better. And I'll throw up some images on the screen now so people can kind of see what that looks like in real time. But it's definitely something that almost every game coming down the road is going to be able to benefit from, right? Like everybody wants their games to look better, to perform better. This is nothing but good news, and it's definitely a big deal. It's one of those things that not a lot of people understand right now, but when they start to see the benefits of it, maybe even later in the year, maybe a year away from now, it's going to be a big deal. And it's definitely something that Microsoft's really touting in accordance with AMD. And it's interesting that AMD didn't really announce that this is something that Sony's consoles are going to be able to take advantage of just, maybe at all, if maybe down the road. It's definitely something that Microsoft can kind of talk about as like a notch in their cap. So, again, I think it's a pretty big deal, but I want to hear what you guys got to say about it. So, Manny, let you start off. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, even seeing some of the clips from that video that you sent, forgot from whom, but like where you like see the difference when they're comparing like Dirt 5 or like even the chess pieces in the table, how like things look a lot sharper and better with the shadows. So like this is definitely a huge advantage for Microsoft because like like you mentioned, we don't know if this is going to be something for Sony. And the fact that with this new feature making games look sharper and everything like that, it definitely does add an advantage to even the longevity of the game. Because I think we were talking about how like before everything, like back then games like Battlefield 4 and like the old last gen console games, how we thought it was amazing at the time, and now it's just like looks so outdated. Whereas like with this new system, it could possibly make the games have a long lifetime with the graphics quality and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a big advantage on Microsoft's part, and those using the AMD card on PC, with the whole graphics boost and the FidelityFX, and definitely can't wait to see how pans out in the future with these devs now being able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, man, for sure. Yeah. Chris, what about you, man? What do you think?
Man, I want to see somebody take the old school San Andreas and put this over it and see if CJ just becomes this more detailed, actually well-defined character. Y'all remember how they looked in those games and their hands was like this and
yeah,
it's all blocky and choppy? Oh, that'd be awesome. But now on a serious note, I think this is great too. They just they're having a hard time losing. Yeah. They're having a hard time losing because like these are nothing but just pure benefits. And then the biggest thing I think that that's great here is it's almost like a light switch. It's not a thing that has to be super complicated. This is something that once it goes live, like the devs don't even really got to worry about much. They just have to make their game the same way they've been doing it, and it's almost like this extra thing that's just going to be there that makes your stuff better. Like the lack of complication here is actually kind of what's really impressive with this whole scenario. Because you think about like 5-10 years ago, somebody talked to you about, we're going to be able to take this old game and make it look better, and it's not just a remaster thing. Because some remasters, like they're not all good remasters. I would say like some of them are like barely a remaster, and this situation, like this is how you're really going to be able to do it. Like I joked about Grand Theft Auto, but then I really am being serious when it comes to games like I don't know, like Resident Evil 4, right? Resident Evil 4 at its time looked great especially because it was on Wasn't it on a Nintendo console before anything else, if I'm not mistaken? It was on GameCube,
Resident Evil
right?
4? Yeah, it was
Yeah,
on GameCube.
GameCube, yeah. And like games like those, I think can really, really take advantage of stuff like this because they're not ugly games; they're just old games, and they just need a little bit of like TLC kind of thing. And I think, yeah, stuff like that can really help with this. Or like even like the old school Uncharted games, like they're not ugly, but you can play them now and they're old. They play a little old. The games like those are what's gonna like really benefit the games from like I guess I'll say middle gen because it's not necessarily the last gen, but maybe the gen before it. PS3 games and Xbox 360 games and stuff like that, I think are really going to be able to benefit the most. The older stuff, like from like the 90s, ain't really much you could really do about some of that shit, man. You're just going to have to do a full-on remaster with some of that stuff. But yeah, the stuff from the early 2000s and all that, yeah, like I think those games are really, really going to be able to take advantage of this heavily. And again, it's nothing but a plus. There's no negative here. I don't see. It's crazy how easy it seems like it's going to work on paper, and the fact that devs don't have to do anything. Like that's
I mean,
the
the fact
biggest
that
thing
it's
here. They
it's
don't got
just
to do
built
shit.
in. Yeah, it's built right into their kit, and I mean, it largely just works, right? Like you said, it's kind of just like flipping a switch in a way. That's a really good thing. It's a really, really good thing.
That's insane.
And even to expand on what you were talking about, right? Like the ability for developers to go back in, add some of this stuff to their code and just have their games just kind of automatically look better or do this or do that. Like, even not even just the developer, but the fact that Microsoft themselves are able to do some of that stuff, right? Like we talked about it before, right? We talked about their FPS boost and the auto HDR and all that stuff. Like that largely that stuff is Microsoft just going in and just making it happen without even having the devs have to do any work. So something like this FidelityFX thing is definitely something that developers can go back and use. But I'm definitely really looking forward to seeing what people are doing to implement this in their next games. Like I would have to expect that, since Halo Infinite got delayed, right? Halo is probably going to be one of those games that's going to be able to take advantage of this FidelityFX thing now that it's in the SDK. I'm sure they probably got a little bit of early access to it because, of course, it's Halo. Like, Microsoft's probably going to bend over backwards to try to make sure they get the best tech up front. So, yeah, the next Halo taking advantage of this, Hellblade's taking advantage of this. Let's say Starfield, like all the games that we're really expecting to see coming soon. Like that's the stuff I really, really, really want to see. Like I want to see ray tracing in all my games, and I want to make sure that it looks crispy as hell, like still in 4K, all that good stuff. And yeah, I mean, it looks like we're definitely like steps closer to that for sure. But, oh man, like yeah, I think, and it's interesting because I don't think a lot of people really understand like what ray tracing does for games because it's not really out there yet, right? Like unless you're a PC gamer with a 20 series or a 30 series RTX, like it even still in those games, some games aren't really coded for the ray tracing necessarily yet. So I think having ray tracing hit the mainstream and be a part of like console gaming more, I think people are really going to start to see like what these systems can do and like how good ray tracing makes everything look. Man, oh man, I can freaking wait. Like I still remember when they first showed off ray tracing, like they like really NVIDIA first announced it and partnered with Battlefield. I think it was Battlefield 5.
Yeah, I believe so.
No, I don't think it was. It 5. I don't think it was 5 because then that means it would have been modern. I think it was Battlefield 1. Yeah, I think it was Battlefield 1, and they showed off how like it's not just everything looks pretty, and at the time everything was super glossy, right? And it did look pretty, but there was like a practical reason behind it too, where okay, like I'm playing and I see in the reflection of this building that there's a guy around the corner. So now I know like, oh, okay, like let me like crouch and now that I'm aware of where he is, I can like maneuver around the situation differently to kill him. Like the fact that we're actually going to get like proper reflections and things like that in multiplayer games, and that can actually make a difference in our gameplay. That shit really, it seems really cool. Like it seems like such a small thing, but it's like those small things that build up to a more immersive experience in my opinion. So Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
even
man.
when they showed like the RTX thing with Minecraft, like before I was just like, oh, this game's just a game with blocks. But then like they showed the ray tracing with the shadow and everything.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, why does the game
Yeah.
look like that, yo?
Yeah.
I can't lie, bro. Like I have never cared about Minecraft ever, but when I saw the ray tracing on that game, I was like, oh, this is wait, you can make blocks look good like that?
Yeah.
Like, yo, that's wild, bro. Yeah, if
Yeah.
y'all haven't got a chance to check that out, definitely check out like some videos of Minecraft ray traced basically. Man,
Mm-hmm.
those worlds look beautiful. I'm like, yo, that's Minecraft?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm,
Insane.
mm.
Insane.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. But yeah, like we said, we definitely can't wait to see what's coming next for Xbox and this tech being built into their SDKs. I'm hoping to see it in more games for sure. But we'll jump into our final topic for today. It has nothing to do with this, so there's no real good segue. But something we have talked about in the past is the Mortal Kombat movie. It finally dropped this week. I'm really looking forward to this discussion because we all got some.
We're all doing that.
Yeah,
It's
we all
time to
got a little
finish him.
something to say, but yeah, man. let's just dive right into it, yeah. Manny, I'm gonna let you start off, bro. Did you see the movie? What do you think of it so far? Let's talk.
Of course, I saw the movie. I had to see the movie. You know what I'm saying? The do 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 do. So, yeah. I mean, it was interesting. I view this as a good like prologue before like everything happens. You know what I mean? Like, damn, just are we going? Wait, before I start, are we going full spoiler or like you know what I'm saying? Because like I don't want like you know.
You
You know
probably
what?
should have at least a week of spoilers.
You
It
know,
just came out. It just came out.
but
Yeah.
we won't say anything. Okay,
Let's
we
be
won't
nice.
say.
Yeah, be
Yeah.
nice.
All right,
No spoilers here.
no
Spoiler
spoilers.
free. Spoiler free review. All right.
But I mean, like I said, I think it's like a good like prologue kind of like story where it just like, tells you, you know what I'm saying, like what happened. This is about to happen. Here we go. I mean, I like the fight scenes. The fight scenes were pretty dope in my opinion. The whole choreography of like the fighting and like beginning to the end. I really thought it was like nice. They had like their little what is it called? Where they like reference like like finish him and like that kind of stuff like that.
Oh,
Callbacks, yeah.
It called back, like it was pretty. I like the way he did it. You know what I'm saying? Like some people might think it'd be cheesy, but like you know what I'm saying? Like as a Mortal Kombat fan, I loved it. You know what I'm saying? Like I kind of like the character casting. I think the character casting was pretty good. My favorite, of course, was Kano. He was a funny dude. But yeah, man. Like I just can't wait for what's to come.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have to largely agree with most of what you said, but yeah, I'll save my critique till the till the end. Chris, I know you've had a dramatically different take, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and.
That's what I've been waiting for.
Well, start off by saying it's a hard 3, soft 4. Hard 3. Hard 3. It is not it. Now? That is not it. I mean, we giving a review. We got to give it a review. That's just my number out of 10. It going into the movie, right? And I remember I was talking to my roommate about it. I'm like, dude, I need it to make sense. I need them to explain certain things that they never explained in the last movies, and take this new movie and use it as an opportunity to reboot and to truly lay proper groundwork. Because, like, you know what it reminds me of? Like Marvel, right? One of the reasons why the Marvel franchise has been so successful to me, and the reason why they've been able to pull off some historical bullshit in the movie world and now in the TV world, is because Marvel makes sure it makes sense. Like, granted, you could find loopholes in certain things here and there. Not going to argue that. That's in every movie. But overall, nobody's going to sit here and argue that the story of the Avengers throughout all the movies, especially the final 2, didn't make sense. They went very hard to make sure it made sense. Mortal Kombat does not do that. Mortal Kombat is just, these are these characters, and they didn't really, to me, give me anything to what did they say? Like nobody had endearing qualities or whatever, and like there's none of that for me here. You know what I mean? Like I liked Kano too. I think he was the best part of the movie. He was very funny, and to me, his lines when he was delivering them came out the most natural. Like he didn't seem like he was reading off a script or anything. It just seemed like I came to play Kano and I'm good at this. I can't say that for anybody else in the movie. For me, I don't know. I love the fight scenes. The fight scenes were good. I think the choreography in general, yeah, very good. Even though I will also say that a good amount of that stuff was already in the trailer. Kind of sucks. To be real with y'all, I think some of the best stuff was, especially the ice blade thing with the blood. That was a really cool scene. They probably shouldn't have put that in the trailer. I would have just saved that for the movie because that would have had me lit if I had never seen it before. Yeah, I ain't gonna try to tear it to shreds or nothing like that, especially given the fact that we can't really go into details on why I think certain parts of it is trash. But if you're just looking for an overall score, y'all, hard 3, soft 4. You can spend your money if you would want to, but if you ask me, I would say to save it. Or
I mean, if you got
HBO
Max, you're not spending.
If you have HBO Max, then you're fine. Then watch it. If you do not, I don't know. Maybe you want to take that money and I don't know what. Hey man, is Dogecoin still popping? That's so.
I mean, I haven't checked it, but it dropped and I think slowly climbed back up.
It might be a better investment. It might
go ahead, go ahead and take that money and put it in there. That's all I would say.
Put in the HBO stock.
If it just comes on TV one day or some shit like that, then sure. But it's just not something that I think. Or put it this way: say we didn't have any COVID stuff going on, and the movie theaters still ran exactly like how they used to. This is not something that I would say, "Yo, bro, you got to get out to the theaters and see this." I would not recommend it like that. But say you had Movie Pass back when Movie Pass was still popping, and you got your 3 movies a week or whatever. Yeah, shit. Go ahead, use 1 to 3 and go watch it. If you only got 1 to use, don't use it. But if you got 3, yeah, go ahead. It's all right. You know what I mean? It's TLDR. It's a better version than what we usually see on like sci-fi and stuff in terms of movies, but it's not like up to par with big blockbuster movies.
So, before I go and give my take, I'm just curious what you give the original movie.
Oh, below that, it's really, I don't like that movie at all. The original movies, Annihilation maybe gets a 2.8 or some shit like that. But like before though, it's a horrible movie. It's not a fan. I would never.
So you would even say that Annihilation is because you said a hard 3, soft 4.
Soft 4.
But then you're giving the other one a 2.5. So you think those movies are that close together?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because remember, man, I said it. I coming into this, I needed them to do something different to make me like it. I don't feel like they solved any of my problems that I have with the other movies. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that's why it's hard for me to give it a score that much higher than it. Because I walk coming out of it, I have the same issues. And I'm just like, graphically, yes. And fight scene wise, yes. Choreography wise, yes. But I need it to be a little bit more than that for me to give it a high marking. It's just, if I never saw it again, I wouldn't care.
That's really interesting. I think I would agree with that too. But I guess here's the, I don't know. For me, I guess I didn't go into it with high expectations, and I'm not sure if you did or not. Kind of sounds like you might have. I felt like for an action movie, which is exactly what I looked at it as, I felt like it was pretty good. Like, but at the same time, I would agree with everything that you actually said, with the exception of like it making sense. I feel like the movie made perfect sense. Like, I'm not sure if your comment about making the world make sense talks more about incorporating more of what goes on in the game, or if you're talking about like isolating the movie itself as something that makes sense, like itself, like contained within just the movie itself. Because I felt like it made perfect sense.
I see. All right, so here's what I think it is. I think more of it is a pacing thing for me, right? So the first, damn it, I can't even go into this because I don't want to say it. Shit.
I know.
I mean, you can say it without spoiling.
I'm
The
trying to
first
think
what?
of how to say it. It's about the first scene in the movie. Okay, so the first scene in the movie happens. A scene like that, to me, you need to explain why it's happening like that, and I think you kind of need to draw that out a little bit more. It just felt like the movie was more this scene, boom, this scene, boom, this scene, boom, this scene, boom, and it wasn't a lot. I don't know.
I know
I
what
just
you
didn't.
mean, and like try to explain without spoilers is like I feel like that has to be there. You know what I mean? Because that's what sets the rivalry between those two characters. If you know what I mean, like without like giving the context or anything like that, because
Yeah.
that right there is canon. If you know it happened, like it's it's hard to explain.
Oh, just say it.
Yeah.
But like that's supposed to happen. You know what I mean? That's why those two, what I'm saying, are like
I can see
But where did
what
it root from? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why is it
so
happening?
so real quick, I can understand what Chris is saying because Manny, you're and I'll say this, like my barometer for whether or not the story makes sense is my wife, right? She's never played the game, she doesn't know anything about the game story, and she understood fully what was going on. So that's why I feel like it made perfect sense. But yes, there's some as a fan, the first scene happens and you understand why it happened because you play the games and you understand that
Right.
yes, this is canon, these people are rivals and so on and so forth. But I feel like within the dialogue of what was happening, it was just a matter of, well, like, I mean, this isn't a spoiler, but I'll just say it, right? Like, okay, I'm from one clan and you're from another clan, and our clans have always rivaled. Like he said that in the movie, so that made sense. Like my barometer is my wife. She understood that, so I feel like okay, that made sense. Moving on, it's like, but I do feel like it could have benefited from expanding more on like why they're rivals and maybe what happened. And I'm sure that's something that could happen down the road. I don't know. I feel like I don't feel like that first scene was had any issues with pacing in my opinion, but I can still understand what you're saying around I wish I had more exposition around it, right? I think there is only so much that they could have put in, like what was the movie, like an hour and a half? It wasn't even
it
2
was like an
hours.
Yeah, it
hour,
wasn't that
like
long.
35
Yeah,
minutes.
it wasn't particularly long, and I feel like for what it was, like let's stop here. In my opinion, what this movie was, and Manny kind of alluded to it, is it's a prequel, right? Like it sets the stage for what could happen, well, what will happen next. Like I think it's the studio kind of testing the waters to see how people feel about it before they really dive into some of the other things. And I think eventually it started garnering up enough hype that they decided to sign on their actors for a little bit longer than just one movie. So we know that there's going to be a couple more movies down the road. And I think that's part of why I'm not judging the movie as harshly, because again, I do agree with a lot of the things that Chris said. Personally, I give the movie a 6, right? Like I don't think it's as bad as like a 3. Like that's a very
That's harsh.
score.
Yeah.
That's a really harsh score. But yeah, I don't know. It's a 6. I think the story made sense even outside of my knowledge of what I know about Mortal Kombat. Like it was like, okay, well, this thing is happening. These people are doing this thing for this reason. Like everything was spelled out, and I don't think that the way they was spelled out was necessarily like. I feel like in some situations there was almost too much exposition, which is why I have a hard time like tackling your theory about the movie not making sense, because I felt like it made sense almost to a fault. Like some of these things happen and they explain why it had to happen, but I don't like that it happened. I also will definitely agree that the casting is poor. I don't like the casting at all, except for Kano. I feel like Kano was the only
Kano was spot
good
on.
person there. Yeah. I didn't like well, I can't say names because that would be spoilers in themselves, but yeah, there's a couple people that I did not like their casting for. There are some names that I can mention because people have seen the trailers, like Kano. But Jax is actually one person that I did like. I'm not sure where you landed on him. I feel like he was pretty well cast. I liked his character. I liked his personality. I feel like they did a good job with him. But the new guy, like what was his name, Cole? I don't like him at all.
Yeah. It could have been better.
Yeah. The fact that he was like, the fact that they like really showed you the story through his eyes was pretty poor. Like I didn't like that he didn't turn out to be somebody that we already knew. I feel like it would have been better, if for fan service, if anything, to have made him a character that we already knew and have him, circle back to where they wanted to go with the story. Again, I can't say what I want to say because it's spoilers. But yeah, the casting was poor. Some of the acting was poor. Like I like Sub-Zero's acting. I mean, he's really just
he's coach. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
No puns intended.
Shit. So yeah, it is what it is. I liked Jax's acting and I liked Kano's acting. I don't think she was in this person was in the trailer, so I don't want to talk about it too much. But there's a couple other people who've had some issues with some other castings that I don't think I've had as much of an issue with, but I definitely don't like the main guy. Like he could definitely use some work. I don't know if they need to write something better for him, but yeah, I don't know. But I do like that some of the things that took place in the story made a lot more sense than in the video games. Like there's a particular
I'll give you that one for sure.
There's a particular thing that happens in the story that kind of explains why some people are the way they are, and it makes so much more sense than anything that's in the games, and I really appreciated it. And I feel like this is like a step one, right? Like, so Chris, you mentioned the MCU, right? The very first Iron Man movie was good, right? It was good, but you know, it was a stepping stone to like what we eventually got to. Like, I don't think anybody watched that movie and was like, "Oh, this is groundbreaking." Like, it's good, probably more of like a 7 than a 6, but it was good. And I feel like they have some room to make this a lot better down the road. I think, you know, they continue to partner with NetherRealm and, you know, do the things that they're trying to do. I don't know how they're going to rectify this Cole thing, though. I'm gonna be real with you. That shit doesn't bother. He alone is the reason why I probably wouldn't give it a 7. Because man, I didn't like him at all. I did not like him at all. But yeah, I also agree that there was some campiness to it. And I think if you pulled some of that stuff out, it would also have gotten a better score from me. Like, you know, like, and again, they showed this in the trailer, but basically, like, you know, Kano wins. Like, that's cheesy. You know, there was a couple other
like
terms.
That?
Nah, I did not.
There's better ways to do that stuff,
that in the
man.
movie, yo. Like,
but that's so in your face, though, bro. Like, so right here's a good way you could have did the whole flawless victory part. Remember that part? You could have literally did a scene where you got two kids playing a video game and one beats the other and then goes flawless. Something like that that's not so in your face. This man literally did his thing and then
like I don't like the fact that the characters themselves said it, right? So for example, for example, the Kano thing, right? Like the character who was with Kano at the time, like obviously, you know, doesn't particularly care for Kano. She's like rolls their eyes at him. You could have just been like, that person could have just walked around and been like, Kano wins. And, you know, like, I don't know, there are better ways.
I felt like it fit Kano's personality, though, because, like, Kano's that cocky dude that's just like, you know what I'm saying?
Even still, though, he could have done it better. Like, the way he said it, the way he delivered that line, it was just too campy. I agree that it does fit Kano's personality, and I think he could have done it better. Like, they could have wrote it better for him in that role. Like maybe he walked away and was like, Kano wins, like something like that, you know, like it would have been smoother, but the way he did it, it just didn't feel right. And the flawless victory one was just fucking garbage. Absolute garbage. Like I feel like it would have been better served again for somebody else to have said it, like because it made sense in the situation, right? The person made quick work of whatever was happening. Somebody else should have been like, damn, flawless victory, you know, like something like that. There are better ways.
I feel like that would have been more cheesy.
Do you remember? I can't remember which X-Men movie it was. I want to say The Last Stand, the third movie of the original trilogy. There is a scene in this movie, right? And I remember I went shit crazy in the theaters when it happened. And it was with Juggernaut and Kitty Pryde, right? And I remember I was like, yo, he ain't gonna say it. He not gonna say it. He not gonna say it. And then they had the scene where she pulled him through the ground. And he looked at us and said, "You know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch." Yo.
Like, oh. See, that was delivered
done perfectly.
Yes,
man.
yes,
perfect.
It was so meta. You gotta
do it. Yeah, it was amazing, bro.
Yeah, like that's the type of stuff I'm looking for from a movie like that, right? Those, you know, the flawless victory, and this person wins, and so on and so forth. Like they just have to be written better. And I feel like there's opportunities to put them in the game or put them in the movie, sorry, and have it not be cheesy. And they missed out on a couple of those opportunities, in my opinion. But no, whatever. The one thing I will like really, 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 really give them credit for, like big time, is Chris. I think you mentioned it yesterday when we were playing online. But like their blood budget, like the gore,
Yeah.
the gore in the movie was excellent. The fatalities were excellent. Like, yeah, they did a really good job of staying true to the game in that regard. And that's the other thing as to why like I have a hard time even putting these two things next to each other, is the original movie and this new one, because the original movie, I don't even think they really had any of those fatality moments.
Really, no.
And the way that the CG was with some of that stuff, it made everything just look super cheesy. Like, remember Goro in the original? Bruh, he looked terrible. Absolutely terrible. Like, even for those standards back then, looked terrible.
Yeah.
So,
I look like the Hulk. With farm.
of course,
Yeah, he kind of did look a little bit like him. Yeah,
looked like a claymation thing. It was just not good, man. And to think that movie came out in the 90s, and then like Star Wars came out back in like the 70s and had better like graphics, and like obviously there was like practical effects there, but you couldn't figure out how to do more practical effects in the 90s. Like, come on.
Yeah, hey, man.
Yeah.
Hey.
That the original one was terrible. That's why I can't put those like even close to each other in like score or anything. It's definitely a hard 6 for me. It doesn't creep up into a 7 at all. It's a hard 6. There's definitely a lot of work to be done, but it was a fun time. I had fun watching it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I definitely have seen worse movies. I'll tell you that much. I think not necessarily that I came into it with high expectations, because like Mortal Kombat's not like one of my favorite franchises in the world either, but it was just I wanted to see them really take it like serious again for a second. And in my opinion, I kind of felt like, especially with the video games, they took a turn to some shit that I didn't like in some games, like with the DC Universe stuff and all that stuff. I really wanted them to just ground themselves again and really give us something to dig our teeth into. And I mean, maybe you guys are right. Perhaps the next ones will be better.
Gotta fix.
I don't even know the name of this studio. I don't even know who the studio is that made this movie. Atomic something. Like that was the first time I ever seen that. So now another thing that made me think, is this more of a movie where, all right, back when the YouTube series had came out, maybe like 10 years ago, when they were dropping like little character episodes every so often, I remember the reason why they had did that, and I think at the time, if I'm not mistaken, they were gonna have Michael J. White play Jax, which was gonna be wild. And I remember the reason why they made those episodes that way is because they had to literally convince somebody to buy the shit. And they were like, dude, we need, like, can somebody take this?
Yep.
They're dope. And the episodes were fire. But, like, I don't think anybody decided to give them a shot. So it kind of sounds like to me in Hollywood that people in the high places, they don't necessarily believe 100% in Mortal Kombat like that anymore. So I feel like this movie was somewhat handicapped with that, if that makes any sense, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And almost on some, we're only going to give you so much of a budget, so you're not going to be able to get all these actors or whatever. You need to show us in this little bit that we give y'all that it's worth more getting put into it later, which is why I think later on, as they announced, now we're going to be doing sequels because it garnered all this buzz and yada yada. But like before that, I don't think that was ever even on the table. I don't think any of that was being discussed. I think it really was a big ass prove me movie. Like you got to prove it. We'll give you a little bit, make it work somehow, make at least the blood look good, and then we'll see what we got after. And then if we really want to go balls to the wall later, if we really feel like there's a franchise here, if this is maybe something that can compete with Suicide Squads and the rest of those movies, then okay, you want real budget, boom. You want Zack Snyder level directors, boom. We'll go out and go get those guys, but we're not just going to do that, because that's the impression I get from it, man. It doesn't come off like something that somebody really just said, go do what you want and don't worry about money.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree 1,000%. Yeah. And I think that's another one of those things. Like I knew that going in too, is like, it's like a low budget studio. It's not like you said, it's not like the Zack Snyders and the Josh Whedons of the world that were really going out there and like going to bat for this movie. It was like a new up and coming studio where like, look, we have an idea, like we need to sell it to somebody like, well, Warner Brothers is the one that owns the property. So, I mean, they're the only people that we can really go talk to about this. So give us a chance, and they decided to give him a chance. My hope is that even if this movie doesn't, even if the executives don't see this movie as a type of movie that can go out there and be in the theaters next year or the year after that or whatever, it's at least like an HBO Max exclusive. And like it has high production quality, but the studios aren't taking as much of a risk by throwing it into the box office. You already have people who are utilizing the HBO Max service, so you are willing to invest that money, right? Like look at what Netflix does, right? Netflix invests millions and millions of dollars, basically as if they were making a high budget feature film that would go to the box office, and they just put it on Netflix. And then, it has its run on Netflix, and sometimes if it's good enough and it gets Oscar praise or whatever, then they'll put a limited run in theaters and they'll make a little bit more money off of that. My hope is that with this, if it doesn't get a box office, release on the next one, they'll at least make it an HBO Max thing, and then they continue to make it an HBO Max thing. And because HBO Max, the quality of their stuff is pretty high, right? Like the HBO shows that they've been coming out with, their quality is still high. So like just keep building up on that. Try to get a couple more names in there, bigger names. I'm sure that there's some people who may have watched this, actors who are like, I want to be in the next one. I want to be. Well, I can't say any names because it'll spoil it in itself. But I want to be this person. I want to be that person. Like, I'm sure that there are people out there who might be interested in this, and definitely from the way that this was set up, we didn't get introduced to that many characters, right? Like it was a pretty small suite of characters, and that alone is what makes me think like they're definitely setting the stage to do more, because they weren't sure what this could be or what this was going to be or where the interest was or whatever. So now that people like us are talking about it, the world's talking about it, like a lot of people were interested in this movie, and a lot of people's reactions were that it was fun, right? Like there's a lot of people who didn't like it, just like Chris, but the general consensus is this was a fun time and people will want to see more. So I'm hoping we get it soon.
Yeah, same, definitely agree.
Yeah.
Hey man, like I said, I feel like, like you mentioned, it could be something big. Like you said with the whole Iron Man, Iron Man was all right, but then look what it came out to be. So,
Iron Man had budget though. That's the one thing I will say. They did not have any low budget stuff in Iron Man.
Hey man,
that like the worst you could say about that is maybe the writing could have been maybe better here and there, but like it wasn't for lack of budget. That's not a conversation with Iron Man.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. So I'm just excited.
I mean, I recently just, sorry not to cut you off. I went back, and my wife and I have been watching the MCU movies. Iron Man's budget was probably a bit higher than this, but like it wasn't that high. Like the CG in that wasn't great. The majority of the movie took place in a cave. Like if you really think about it,
I'll go back and watch that again too. It's been a while.
Like there wasn't. I mean, it was definitely still good, but when you really think about it, the budget on that wasn't crazy high. And this was before. I'm pretty sure Disney didn't even own Marvel back then, because it was made by Universal.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was made by Universal, and then Marvel came on for the second movie, and then the subsequent movies after that. But the first one was like very much like a bare bones like thing. Yeah, go back and watch.
That, like I know I got to go back and watch it, but like from what I do remember from watching it, there's still certain things production wise that like I can't say that I had that issue with Iron Man 1 as opposed to this, because again, like I don't think this was like completely low budget, because it wasn't that. Yeah. But there's definitely things that stuck out to me. Like if this was like a top of the line Hollywood movie, they wouldn't have done certain things how they did them.
Yeah.
So,
oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I'll agree to this much. Like even though the budget, I don't think it was like. I think Iron Man eventually, like, and the MCU eventually set a standard that we're at now. So back then it was a bit different, like experiencing that. People were kind of jarred by it in a way, but yeah, the budget wasn't as high. But also, there's a lot to be said about Jon Favreau. Like he was the one who directed that movie, and I mean, he's kind of a fucking genius. He's done a lot of really good things. So his genius being on that movie, I think, is a bigger part of why it grew and became more successful as well. But as far as budget goes, yeah.
Do we know who directed this Mortal Kombat? Because I don't know. Yeah, I'd love to know who they did.
Yeah, no idea.
Very curious.
Oh yeah. No idea.
It is what it is.
It is for sure. But yeah, hopefully we'll see more from it soon. You know, I'm sure in the next year or two we'll hear about Mortal Kombat 2.
Definitely
Hopefully.
pulling for it, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all are. You know, as gamers, we definitely want to see that franchise be a thing, and we know we're going to be seeing a lot more stuff down the road. We still got well, you know, gaming wise in media, we still got the Last of Us TV show coming. We got the Resident Evil movie supposed to be coming later this year. So definitely a lot to look forward to in the world of where gaming crosses with Hollywood. Something we've obviously talked about a lot in this podcast. But you know, we'll head out for now. But before we do, guys, where can the people find you? Manny, start it off.
You already know. Twitch.tv/GoMasterFlex. Instagram, GoMasterFlex_TTV. You already know. Twitter, GoMasterFlex_. You already know.
Why?
All right. Well, Chris, you already know. Where can the people find you?
Oh boy, this man, I can't. Yeah, as y'all already know, I'm on everything at MAY25THXX. On everything, and it wouldn't be a plug of my own if I didn't tell y'all to start pen paling me whenever y'all have a free moment. Inbox is looking kind of barren.
All right. Inbox is looking barren. This guy. Well, all right. For me, it's Black Ice 8 pretty much everywhere. Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, Twitter, Twitch. Make sure to check out the Twitch channel. Come chat with us a little bit every once in a while. And then on Instagram, I'm gonna be BlackIce8_gaming. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to this video if you guys are really rocking with what we're doing here. Definitely comment below. Let us know what you guys think about the Mortal Kombat movie. It seems like, as we've seen here, it's a pretty polarizing discussion around that movie for sure. So yeah, let us know what you guys think about it and what you guys hope to see in the next one. And we'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.
Peace. Hiya.